I certainly would not turn my back on President Trump. I am a huge supporter of his. But with that, I love Governor Ron DeSantis. He is America's governor, and he has these same policies. I know that his focus right now is governing the state of Florida. But at this time, with 2024 in the far future, I am very much concerned on legislating and being a productive representative for my constituents in 2022 or in 2023 and 2024.
He has the same policies. He's America's governor, and I am serious on being for my constituents. She has no idea what she is saying, and the reason is very clear. She does not want to be asked about who she's going to be supporting in 2024. I'm not saying that she's a great public speaker, has a great grasp of her obligations or responsibilities or anything like that normally, but the pressure was put on her in that question. Are you going to support Trump, or are you going to turn to DeSantis? And you can say, well, I would never turn my back on Trump, but I don't know, Ron DeSantis pretty cool. You know who's going to see that as turning your back on Trump? Trump. He's going to see it that way. And so you can fumble and bumble about supposedly liking him. It's pretty clear that you're turning, and it's not difficult to figure out exactly why. If the recount does not change the result of her election, won by 500 votes. Clearly, her being seen as too extreme made her very vulnerable and could result in her being taken out in 2 years. Spending the next couple of years working with Donald Trump doesn't seem like it's going to help her, so maybe it's convenient for her to divert to Ron DeSantis. But she should bear in mind that while going for DeSantis rather than Trump might help her in her general election bid in 2 years, they're not just going to let her skate by with that in the meantime. And here's the first indication of that. Here's a set of statements put out by Marjorie Greene that are not specific, except that you can kind of understand what she's saying. She tweeted, President Trump has endorsed, supported, fundraised, and done rallies for more Republican candidates and got them elected than any leader in U.S. history. They run in his name and his policies, post pics with him, put up ads with him, and beg him for help when they're in trouble. Not only President Trump, but his family, his entire staff support these Republican candidates. The most repulsive thing is when the people find out that they voted for are fake because these Republicans refuse to stand with Trump when they are publicly asked. They refuse to stand with the people by cowering away when asked if they endorse President Trump, because everyone needs to remember President Trump received more votes than any Republican presidential candidate in history, notably less than a Democrat has gotten, though. The people matter and integrity matters. So she doesn't say what led to that tweet storm, but it happened right after Lauren Boebert's thing. What else could it possibly be about? Now, understand, Marjorie Greene is trying to do a couple different things. So she definitely wants Trump to see her as a natural ally, but also she's kind of alone in that. It's possible that she's trying to ease her own path forward by brutalizing those who divert from Trump to make it less likely that more will in the future. She doesn't want to be the only one that's endorsing Trump. But right now, she seems to be indicating that if Boebert and others do turn on Trump, she's going to try to exact some sort of political cost on them by declaring them traitors to MAGA. Dan, what do you think?
Let them fight. Oh, that's my favorite segment. It's my favorite thing to do here. I love watching it. No, the whole politicking with Lauren Boebert is very interesting too, because if she's putting her chips in with Ron DeSantis, which, by the way, 10 days after an election, it could ultimately change. The Republican Party feels looking like it might include a little bit of Mike Pompeo here, a little bit of Nikki Haley over there. Like, it's starting to get a little bit crowded, which, as we saw from the Democratic primary, is a mess. But for the Republican primary, will be incredibly fun to watch. But yeah, if Boebert puts all of her chips in with DeSantis and Trump ends up pulling one of his many hat tricks, red hat tricks, if you will, then all of a sudden Trump turns his guns on Lauren Boebert, and Boebert who's already on shaky ground, having just barely maybe winning her her general election race in Colorado. She's on shaky ground for potentially a primary challenger, which could mean that she's out of office or the Democrat wins because Donald Trump does what he does and splits the vote for the Republican Party, which would be hilarious. So I love to watch it. I love to see it. I also love that Marjorie Taylor Greene is getting into this as well as the now defender of Donald Trump, at least by proxy. Because, yeah, that would be, I think you're angling for her potentially being the vice presidential pick. That's a strong words there. I don't think that could happen.
I'm
I still
starting
think it's
to
open
waver.
to anyone.
I'm starting to
I don't
waver
know.
with more. We don't have time to play the Carrie Lake stop. Maybe we'll play it tomorrow. But the more I see out of Carrie Lake, the more I think, I really think he's probably going to choose her. But we'll see.
The only
In
winning
any
move
event,
is not to play right now. The only winning move is not to
That's
play
true.
right now.
Well, I'm sure Lauren Boebert would have preferred to not be asked about that. The fact that she was like fumbling and bumbling indicates that to me. But anyway, she better be careful because she could end up being declared a rhino any minute now on Truth Social. And I'm sure they can find someone in her district who's just as crazy as her and is willing to stand with Trump. So stay tuned. We'll find out.
For more political news, breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.